Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Pulling Threads. Today we have Ellina Creary, a fellow therapist and coach with us, and we're going to talk about diet culture and all the things that Alina's specialized in and she coaches. And she has a really very different kind of perspective on diet and eating disorders, weight loss, all things to do with
hmm
how we relate to food.
Yes.
But first, we have to talk about the most important thing. I know that you are a Swiftie.
Yes. Big
So,
Swifty.
I never identified as a Swiftie, but now I guess I am. I've always loved her music and I've seen her in concert and she's incredible. But I am a lifelong Chiefs fan. So I have to ask you, like, how do you feel about Taylor marrying one of my favorite Chiefs?
I'm just so happy for her. I think
Yeah.
if Taylor chose Travis, clearly he's God's favorite. gotta
Of
gotta
course.
love a man who's not threatened by a woman's success.
Absolutely. I love that too. That's definitely, I think, an overlooked part of the story. Yes, we share that.
Just happy for her.
Yeah,
And
me
him.
too.
I mean,
And
clearly he
him.
won a
They
jackpot.
seem genuinely happy, like incredibly happy and well matched. So I love it. Um, all right, Alina, tell us a little bit about your story. I love for people to share their journey and what drew you into this work as a licensed eating disorder therapist and an intuitive eating coach.
Yeah, sure. Like you said, I've been a therapist for 15 years, about 10 years for exclusively working with eating disorder population. So on all levels of care, from hospital settings, residential, and of course outpatient settings, teens, adults, all across the board, men, women, everybody. So
Okay.
it's been a lot of time and a lot of experience treating people with like severe eating disorder issues. And what kind of drew me into the coaching world is that I've noticed throughout my clinical practice is that yes, there's people that come in for eating disorder specifically, but also other people who come for completely unrelated issues, but the eating and body image stuff comes up almost all the time, like
Okay.
almost exclusively with everybody. So it's such a pervasive issue for everybody. And I thought there was not enough reputable, really solid information out there for people, from professionals who really spend a lot of time in the field working with those kind of problems. So that's kind of how my coaching program started. It's a passion project. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I want to bring out kind of to the masses, to everybody. I think everybody deserves to have food freedom and peace with their bodies, and that's kind of my mission, is to help out as many people as I can with.
I love that. And you're so right. I think in my practice, in relationships I have with others, and in my own kind of healing journey, this relationship with food, a poor relationship with food and body image kind of took me by surprise, even though it's played like this huge role in my life. I've done all the diets, I've done all the things. And when I started therapy, I didn't realize how deep my wounding was and how much I was leaning on food for emotional support. So I remember when my first therapist said, I think the food stuff is like one of your deep, dark things. Like, I don't even know if we're ready to get there yet. It's a huge issue. I was like, how is this
Mhm.
possible? But it is. And we'll talk more about where all that comes from, but it's in most of us, I think.
Yeah.
So, Holly, what is intuitive eating and how does it differ from what most women have been taught about food?
Yeah, I love that question. So, intuitive eating is the philosophy that we are all born with innate ability to take care of ourselves and take care of our bodies. So, intuitive eating means our bodies know exactly the nutrients that we need and how much and of what we need, and kind of lets us know. The problem is that even through childhood, I feel like I have two kids, so I've noticed that even in myself when feeding my little babies, they don't talk. I don't know what they're communicating, right? So you always worry as a parent, like, oh, are they getting enough to eat? And I think it even
Mhm.
starts gradually. We condition people out of their ability to intuitively eat. And of course, once people get older and then culture enters the conversation, right? It's everywhere. It's
Right.
absolutely everywhere. And even in children's programming, there's messages about food and bodies and kind of how it ties to self-worth. everywhere. Diet culture comes in and kind of steals that from us. So again, my passion of intuitive eating is being able to help people rebuild trust with their bodies,
Yeah.
learn the cues, learn to understand themselves and trust themselves to do all right by themselves.
It's funny because we don't think about what we do to kids, even just scheduling, being so rigid about scheduling meals.
Mhm.
That's one thing, and it's hard to work around that, and I think that is something almost every culture does, but you finish your plate when I was a kid, and I've had to undo, like, trauma around
Mhm.
being forced to eat or feeling shame for not eating, and we kind of keep just passing that on to our kids
Mhm.
instead of saying, "Okay, you feel full," like, it's hard because your kids sometimes are just distracted or they wanna go play, they don't wanna eat, and they're gonna be hungry in, an hour.
Mhm.
But then there's the other side of it where I know in my family, especially with my father, like, it was a control thing. Like, "No, you're going to do this. You're going to
Mhm.
eat." And the shame around that was huge. So, there's a lot of undoing, unprogramming.
And
Used to
trauma makes a big part of that, like you said,
Yes.
just various influences. And again, I mean, not blaming parents. I think they mean
No.
well for the most
Yeah,
part, but again, it's that cultural programming that parents have had
exactly.
to relate to their children.
He
Mhm.
That was the rule in his family, and it was the rule at my grandparents' house. You don't get up until everything is gone.
Mhm.
So, you take away at a very young age your understanding that you can listen and trust your body, and when you wanna stop eating, you can stop eating. Uh,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
so you describe diet culture as an oppressive system. How
Mhm.
does it keep women small, distracted, and stuck?
Yeah, I 100% believe it's an oppressive system. It's a systemic issue. It's not a personal
Mhm.
issue, right? The person is not at fault because they think they have a character flaw because they don't have the willpower to maintain their diets, right? It's the systemic issue. It's everywhere. So it's
Yeah.
rooted in patriarchy, keeping people small, keeping them focused on distracting things, right? Instead of channeling their energy in things that are maybe more worthwhile. Capitalism, right? Who's benefiting from people constantly being unsatisfied with their bodies, selling us
Yeah.
products, selling us things that keep us stuck in that cycle. And it's, honestly, white supremacy. It's elevating Eurocentric bodies, white
Mhm.
bodies, and all of that feeds together. So it's a lot of different system playing together. That's why I'm so passionate again about it, because I'm passionate about women, men, anybody who is willing to live freely of oppressive symptoms and really doing what they think is right with their bodies and with their life ultimately.
Right. How do you see diet culture overlapping with body shame, food guilt, and then the binge restrict cycle that we see people in?
Yeah, that's the yo-yo dieting. Binge restrict cycle essentially goes like this. People think they need to lose weight, so they restrict, right? They
Yep.
restrict and they only can go so much because the body will take what it needs back. And
Yep.
then that's perceived as loss of control. So then it flips the other way. It's like a pendulum. So then the binging comes into play. And then we enter guilt and shame. People feel horrible and cycle starts over again. And that's how people keep stuck because they feel like we've been presented this idea that just the right kind of diet will solve all problems. And
Mhm.
if I can't sustain this diet, then there must be something wrong with me, right? It's those character
Mm.
flaws where ultimately the system is set up for fail. Like 99% of diets fail after
Yeah.
a long enough period, after 5-year period. So it's not you, it's not your body, it's not your willpower, it's the system.
We're fighting a battle that we can't win, but there is an alternate way. What's the difference between an eating disorder treatment and navigating like everyday diet culture?
So eating disorder is very clinical. Obviously, people who come for eating disorder treatment, there's quite often a medical necessity. And actual medical conditions that we're treating. So when I work with eating disorder patients in my practice, there's a group approach. I always have a psychiatrist on board. I always have a medical doctor that's checking up their vitals, their electrolytes, their heart rate, all those kind of things, make sure that people are physically, medically stable. And the dietitian, of course, that helps monitor the nutritional intake and so forth. So it's a multi people team approach when it comes to
Right.
true eating disorder treatment. And when we're talking
Okay.
about diet culture, helping people overcome whether it's yo-yo dieting or just disordered eating, there's no medical issue per se, but there's more like a psychological mindset stuff that's going on, behavioral stuff
Hmm.
that's going on that keeps people still stuck in that cycle of obsessing over food, obsessing over their bodies, feeling unhappy.
Yeah. So many people live in that cycle forever. Like they never find a way out. And
Yeah.
it's such a consuming, like time consuming, mentally consuming issue that so many of us have.
I see
Freedom.
clients of all ages, 70-year-olds who are talking about that they, need to lose weight and this and that. Think about the time and energy that you can be spending elsewhere than worrying about this kind of stuff.
Right. And you're not encouraging people to not take care of themselves. You're really teaching people how to listen to their body and what they
Mhm.
need and eat, but not
Yeah.
this restriction, and obsession. So you're trying to break that cycle, but encouraging people to obviously be healthy and live
Yeah.
a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah,
I
and I think
think,
that's one of the myths and misnomers about intuitive eating is that people think of, well, if I stop dieting or I will let myself go, right, I will become unhealthy. And that's just not true. We operate from health at every size, meaning that all people of all sizes are able to be healthy, whatever that looks like for them, right? So
mhm,
the weight and health are not necessarily tied together.
yeah,
And what we talk about a lot is health seeking behaviors, right? So exercise in a way that feels good, that feels nourishing,
yeah,
that feels
yeah,
empowering, that makes you feel like a strong person, right? Whatever that is for you, right? Instead
yeah,
of doing, whatever the diet culture says you should be doing and how often you should be doing. And the same thing with food. I truly believe if you retrack yourself back to the true intuitive eating ways, your body will tell you, right? You will crave
yeah.
veggies. You will crave other things
Right,
that are healthy for you. And you'll also be able to eat desserts and things that you want to do without feeling guilty, without feeling
right.
obsession and all the negative feelings that come with that. So it's true freedom just to be
Oh,
happy and
right.
healthy.
Right. And I think that's the key. Like it's the true freedom. I work with a lot of women who are going through big life changes, oftentimes divorce, breakups, or something else. Like many of them are at a point in their life where they want a transformation or they're going through a transformation and they just need someone to help them through it. Many of them are surprised when one of the first things I talk to them about is what they're eating, whether they're exercising or not.
Mhm.
And specifically with my clients who are in the divorce process, we talk about what you eat the day before you're going to go into a meeting and the reason because food does impact our mental health so much. So
Mhm.
yes, I want you to listen to your body but there are times I want you to think about what you're putting into it a little more mindfully than because I don't want you to be full of inflammation and that triggers more anxiety or reactivity. I think part of the intuitive is learning what foods do to us and being mindful
Mhm.
about the reaction our body's having when we
Yeah.
most people don't know. They have no idea.
Yeah. I
Um,
go on and up gluten-free wagon all the time because I have
mhm.
sensitivities to gluten, right?
Yeah,
So there's
yeah,
times when I'm like, I like it and I'm gonna have it and I'm aware of the consequences. And there's times when I know, like, no, seriously, this is not gonna sit well and I'd rather not. And I think that's also due to eating, right? Our body just responds better or worse to and making those choices again from a point of nourishment and compassion and kindness to yourself rather
yes,
than again rules, restrictions, and those kind of things.
I agree. And I think I have a much better relationship with food, my body, et cetera, now than I've ever had. And sometimes my radar or my trigger will be, oh, my clothes are a little tight. Okay, I need to rein it in a little bit. Maybe I've had too much cheese or too much gluten or whatever. Okay, I'm going to take back a little control here. I'm not going to be
Mhm.
super restrictive, but I'm going to be restrictive enough that I don't have to go buy a new wardrobe. It's a much healthier, I'm not shaming myself. I'm not even angry with myself. I'm just like, oh, it's more curiosity and awareness. And, oh, okay, I need to make a quick change to get things
Mhm.
back to where they were so my clothes feel comfortable. That's
Mhm.
a very different approach to what I used to do, where all my clothes getting tight and I would spiral downward very quickly and
Yeah.
obsessively look for a way out. And it was usually an attempt at a quick fix, um,
Mhm.
some type of program or diet to lose weight fast. And we all know that doesn't ever work for the long term.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, what did it take for a woman to break free from this oppression and move into empowerment? How do you coach people through this?
One, start noticing kind of the systemic issues that are going on here, right? Start noticing the diet culture messaging. Two, start asking yourself, does this align with where I want to be and how I want to live in my life? I think the big part of my program is helping people to kind of rebuild trust in themselves, not just around food, but in general, right? And I think there is
Yeah.
very much a trickle effect that comes from that. Once people feel empowered making their choices over their food in their bodies, and they can make empowered choices other areas of their life.
Yes. I was going to ask you how intuitive eating helps women build their self trust and reclaim their time and their energy and their joy. Like, how do you see that playing out in your client?
I see this all the time. People start to feel, I think again, it goes beyond just the food. It's systemic, and it's the whole idea is that we can't be trusted, especially women. They can't be
Right.
trusted, right? They can't be trusted with their
Right.
bodies. They can't be trusted with their
To make
money. They can't be
decisions. Yep.
be trusted. So once people start to, the foundation, it's the trust of self, right?
Mhm.
And once you start making better choices of food wise and body wise, it frees time, it frees energy to make better choices other areas. So people start speaking up, right? People start showing up places in meetings at work or with their families. How often do we hear family members say, I don't want to go to family vacations because I don't want to
Mm.
see myself in the bathing suit? How often do we hear,
Oh,
oh, I don't want to go to my high school reunion because I've gained, I'm not the same weight that I was when I was 18,
right.
right? All
Right.
those things.
Yeah.
And it just keeps people stuck and small, and their life shrinks. Like ultimately it
Yes.
just becomes about food and nothing else. So when we again rebuild trust, when we make space for other things, people can show up, right? Show up in
Yeah.
leadership, show up in social causes, show up again in your family in ways that your space was not there mentally,
Right.
protein or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if I counted all the times I missed out on opportunities to make memories and live because I didn't feel good about how I looked, it would make me very sad to think back
Mm.
to. I think about when I used to do photography, a lot of women would say, I really need to do a family photo, but I need to lose X amount of pounds first. And I would say, your kids aren't going to care if you were 10 pounds overweight in those
Mhm,
photos when they look back at photos of you guys together. Like, let's just
mhm,
do. And at the same time, I was doing very similar things. I used to go to the beach and I would look around and I would see women who loved their bodies. And you could tell, like, they were wearing these incredible bikinis, maybe a thong, and they didn't care. I want their ability to be free out here instead
mhm.
of worrying about how I look. And I have that now. And I can tell you, like, it is so much easier, more pleasant, and joyful to live your life.
Yeah,
Just it's an acceptance. And I think, like you said, an awareness of where those old beliefs and thoughts and the programming was coming from.
yeah.
So,
I think people think that they will be happier if they were smaller, right? I'll lose 10 pounds.
Mhm.
I'll take those family pictures. I'll lose some weight. I'll go to the beach. And I say to my clients all the time, no, you go. You go in
Go to the
whatever body you've
beach
got.
and wear whatever you want.
Whether you're going to
Yes.
lose 10 pounds or not, we don't know. And it really is irrelevant because you live right now in the body that you have now. And I think that's the power of really my program and what I preach is that your life is now and you deserve to
Yeah.
live it now to the fullest in whatever body you've got.
So what shifts do you see when women finally live without food rules and food running the show?
They show up in their lives. Like I said, they show up for their families. They show up at work. They do things that they weren't able to do before because they kept himself from doing those things.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So how do you think diet culture intersects with other systems of oppression like patriarchy, capitalism?
So patriarchy is focused on keeping women small, keeping them in their
Mhm.
place. And if we focus on our bodies, we're not focused on other things. That's that. And then, again, capitalism profits from people's insecurities ultimately, right? So
Right,
somebody's selling you a product, a service, a plan that they benefit from. And
right,
we keep buying it because we're, again, told that this is the solution when it's not. We feel like it's our fault.
right, right. And I think no matter what culture, what I've learned, I had a misconception at one point that there were other cultures where people embraced women's bodies as they are.
Mm.
And what I learned when I realized, oh, I have curves, I can look for fashion and jeans and things like that if I look at Latino women's clothes, right? So
Mhm.
I start looking at them and I think, oh, this is amazing. Like they have embraced their bodies and their curves. And then as I'm looking in those websites or when I went to Miami and I realize, oh, they have to have curves and some of them don't have curves. So they have the fajas and they have all of these things, surgery to add. So I grew up at a time in the United States where very tall and thin was what everyone was striving for. And some of that's still true, at least with the thin.
Coming back in again.
Yes, it's coming back in again. And yeah, for a while it was, we all wanted Kim Kardashian's figure. But what I
Mhm.
realized is that in some Latin cultures, not everyone's born with curves. And
Mhm.
so the capitalist system or what we see as capitalism here has just monetized and made a business out of adding curves. So they have all the things they wear underneath. I mean, people wear padding in their clothes to make themselves have the curves. So I feel like it's probably a global issue, but it does seem to be focused on women. And we could go into why that's true and our appearance
Yeah.
is so important in the world.
Well, and honestly, it's nothing new. I mean,
Yeah,
centuries ago, people
yeah,
still altered their shape with corsets and
yeah,
padding and wigs and all kinds of things. So that's not new. Some of it is fashion just changes and evolves. And again, it's a kind of the difference between what's fashion, what's fun, what's self-expression versus what
yeah,
is oppressive, right? Like you can
right,
wear lashes because you think it's fun, right? You like
yeah,
your glued on lashes because they're fun and they're flirty or whatever, right? Whatever
yeah,
makes you feel, or you can feel bad about because your lashes are short or
yeah,
inadequate by current
yep,
beauty standards, right? And that is the difference. It's not so much
yeah,
about the thing that you're doing, is what's the intention underneath it.
yes. I love that. If it's oppressive, then it's oppressive and potentially traumatic. But if you're just doing it for fun, I mean, I'm doing the lashes. I do a lot of things to look a certain way because this is how I want to look. And it's fun.
Mhm.
I don't do it because I feel like I have to. I think
Mhm.
they're a big difference there. Uh,
Right. There's nothing wrong with wearing makeup. And also, if you can't go out in public without makeup, without causing yourself a panic attack, then that's where we're talking about. Like, what's that
right,
about?
right. If you can't go out without it, then maybe that's something to talk about. So what role does community play in healing? Why can't this work really be done alone? And
It's a
is that
great
your
question.
opinion?
Yes, I 100% believe in community. One, because the diet culture is so ingrained into our everyday lives. Like I said, it's in kids' movies, it's in the magazine, it's the advertisements, it's everywhere. People, like women, often bond, right, over the dieting and hatreds of their bodies and all those kind of things. It seems so
Yeah,
commonplace that to step out of that is really, really difficult on your own. I mean, you
right.
could obviously you're a superhero, but it's so community is so important. As a saying I like, you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And I think community is really important. You absolutely
Yeah,
can read a book and learn these things and apply them for yourself, and more power to you. I think that's great. But if you want support and if you want to be able to sustain it, because there will be tough times and there will be pushback
yeah,
because it's so not mainstream, then community is there to help you because we're all dealing with that. We're all dealing with it on a daily basis. When I work with
right.
my eating disorder clients or my coaching clients, they say I struggle with this. And I struggle with that too because I live in this world as well. Every day I'm
Yeah,
bombarded with these messages. So it's better to have buddies in your corner.
yeah. And you have a support group
Mhm.
on, correct?
Yes, I have a free Facebook group. It's called Intuitive Eating and Anti-Diet Community. It's actually exactly what it is. It's a bunch of people supporting each other, do trainings there, things like that, just to kind of keep you on your toes, keep you grounded in your mission and just, focus on things that matter.
But what daily practices or mindset shifts can women start today to loosen the grip that the diet culture has on them?
Yeah. Start paying attention, start noticing the diet culture messages to, tuning into yourself. I think a lot
Mm.
of times we open the refrigerator, we open the pantry. What am I supposed to be eating today? What's on my plan? Just ask yourself, what does my body need? What do I need
Mm,
today? What sounds
yeah,
good? What would be satisfying? And beyond just food, I think sometimes it's a maybe hard leap for people to jump into the food straight away because we spent our lifetimes being conditioned out of it. I say
yeah,
start paying attention to your body, period. Right? Do you
yeah.
need to go to the bathroom? Are you tired? Do you need to take a
Mhm.
break? Do you need an extra hour of sleep? Like, what do you need? Are you thirsty? Gosh, like basic things.
Just listening. Yes, yes. When I did mindfulness training, it was one of the first things that we talked about was teaching people that as soon as your body tells you it needs something, give it then that's reinforcing trust. So your
Hmm.
body, your mind, you'll start trusting yourself when you show up.
Hmm. Hmm.
I love that.
When I was in grad school, I want to tell the story. When I was in grad school, there was a group therapy class and we did a wilderness. So it's like a 15-mile hike out in the woods in the cabin, all that kind of stuff. And part of
Mhm.
the experience was that one, we could have phones, which is understandable. You want to be present, but two, no
Yeah,
watches. And I thought that was so interesting. No watches. And the idea was to be present, like practice
yeah,
mindfulness and to be present. And at first I was like, wow, that's strange. But I think it was like a long weekend, 3-day kind of experience. I thought, wow, what an amazing experience to be able to tune in into your body. Now, this is like, mind you, Alaska in the summertime.
right.
So you wake up and you're awake. I don't know
Right,
if it's
right.
5 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. I don't know. I have no idea because it's light all the time. And then, I'm hungry. I don't know if it's breakfast or lunch. I just know I'm hungry and I'm going to listen to it. At the end of the day, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I don't know if it's 8 or 10 or midnight. I have no
Yeah.
clue. And it was
Wow,
such a
that's really
transformative experience. I share this with my clients
yeah.
all the time because we are so tattered to our schedules, to
Mm,
watches, to clocks, to phones, to trackers, right? To everything. Tracks our steps, tracks our sleeps, tracks our water, tracks everything. And
yeah,
it's, just even practicing being able to be in your body and go with the flow is so groundbreaking, honestly. So if food is a little kind of feels a little hard yet, just start with basic things like, water, sleep, bathroom.
right, listening. Yeah, in the mindfulness training, we also always teach people mindful eating. And again, that's been life changing for me. I think it really did start. this like improved, better relationship I have with food because you're forcing yourself to just chew and taste and not think about anything except whatever it is you're eating. So when I
Mhm.
do this exercise with clients or in the MBSR groups, we usually do it with something like a raisin or a piece of fruit. And we're like, this is the best raisin I've ever had. Like, no, all raisins taste like that. You're just in such a hurry,
Yeah.
typically, that we're just putting the food in our mouth. And
Mhm.
I think once I started it with coffee too. Like I do a
Mhm.
whole process to make my coffee now. And then I take my time and I appreciate it and I smell it.
Mhm.
It changed the way I eat, the way I engage with food dramatically, but it's just being present.
Yeah.
It's
Mindful is
that
a big part of it.
it's it's a huge part of it. So,
Mhm.
well, this has been really informative, and I'm sure it will resonate with many people because we're like you said, it's everywhere, and it's such a big part of our culture.
Mhm.
If you could leave women with one empowering message about reclaiming their body and the freedom, what that would look like, what would your message be?
I would say you are meant to live a happy, healthy, fulfilling life. Life does not boil down to, counting macros and worrying about the size of your thighs. There's more to
Mm,
life than that, and you deserve that. And I think there's so much beauty and empowerment in the world that could be ours if we just give
yeah,
up the dieting and diet culture and really focus on energy on other things. And I wish that for everyone. I wish that for everyone.
yeah. How can listeners connect with you and join your intuitive eating and anti diet group and community?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook at Intuitive Eating and Anti-Diet Community. You can find me on Instagram at eoc.coaching. I post a lot of free content on the topics there. And yeah, come find me. Join the movement.
Great, great. And all of that information will be in the show notes down below. Thank you so much. This was really, really wonderful. It was great chatting with you.
Thanks for
And
having me.
yeah, thank you for everyone for listening. Please hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this episode and check out the other episodes on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Thank